Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bituation Room live. I am your host, Francesca Fiorentini. I have survived 4 days of potty training. We'll see if it did any good. We are back. I am back. Also getting over some newfangled illness, some gnarly cough. It's just I don't know what's going on, but everyone has mystery illnesses, and I feel like our COVID vaccines are, tests are probably not up to date. Good thing that RFK Jr. is here to help it all. I mean, it just good thing we're not like firing scientists and biologists and researchers, and infectious disease folks, left and right. Anyway, we're still in hell, ladies and gentlemen, even though it's better. It's a little cooler with you here. We are really excited because Karinda Dobbins, comedian, is back on the program, as well as immigration attorney Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch. Really excited to get Kate on. We are going to be talking about the meeting between two autocrats, Nayib Bukele of El Salvador and Donald Trump of whatever this used to be, this place we call home. We're going to talk about Bukele's refusal to return Kilmar Abrego Garcia as per the Supreme Court order. We're going to be talking about Donald Trump's wish to actually deport Americans in addition to people who just have legal status, like green cards. And then we're also, excuse me, I need to talk a little bit less frannily. Slowly dying here. We're also going to talk about 6 women who went to space on Jeff Bezos's ironically very phallic vessel called Blue Origin. The Taking Up Space tour of space with Gayle King and Katy Perry. I will get into it. We want your thoughts as well. But for now, if you're here watching me struggle, why don't you like and share the stream while I quietly unwrap a throat lozenge? Why don't you subscribe to this channel if you're not already subscribed? And we're going to get started as soon as I stop dying. I'm dying. One second. Everything's fine, you guys. Everything's fine. I'm going to be very fine. I'm going to let all of my guests do the talking, especially I will be fine enough to do my show on May 7th at Cobb's Comedy. Everybody come out. Matt Lieb and I are doing a show there. It's Wednesday, 7 o'clock. Please get your tickets from francescafiorentini.com or wherever you're listening to or watching this show right now. Also, remember, this is just a third of the show. On Friday, we had Erica Pinedo of Al Otro Lado, which is an immigrant rights organization. And I hope you guys caught that interview. If you haven't, please watch it. Also on Wednesdays, we always have our bonus episode, which are stories we couldn't do on a Tuesday or a Friday. Patreon.com/Bituation Room is where you go to get access to that. Support this little labor of love, over some of maybe the other shows you used to support. Oh my God, I didn't know I was going to be dying so hard. I'm fine. Should I play the intro music again while I suck this lozenge? This is very upsetting. We're dealing with it. There's so many reasons to join. Number one, you pay for lozenge support from me, for me. You also get 20% off our union-made merch. That's right. No tariffs will affect our union-made merch, bituationroom.com. You also get access to the American Prospect magazine, which I write for every single episode, edition, along with shout-outs if you become a patron at $10 or more. And thank you guys so much for doing so. Let's get into it. What I'm bitching about. We're going to figure this out together because I'm going to be very mad in our next segment, but don't worry. You'll join me, and so will somebody else. This is What Are You Bitching About? So, over the weekend, we learned that Bill Maher met with Donald Trump at the White House. And in a very long, too long little monologue, Bill Maher told his audience what that meeting was like. And I want to just pick it apart for many reasons. But number one, you all know where I stand when it comes to Bill Maher, noted Islamophobe, noted centrist elitist who thinks the kids are too woke and thinks that things like stopping the war on Gaza is anti-Semitic. He loves throwing down with other elitists and also young new influencers in his weird ass Club Random podcast where he gets way too blazed for a 9-year-old man or however old he is. But Bill Maher told his audience about this visit that he had to the White House, and he said that he pushed back. He said some things because he disagrees with Trump largely. But I want to point out a few moments that really seal the deal with me when it comes to centrist, privileged people that I think we all should have our antennas going up for, because what they tend to do is they will meet with people, figures on the right, and or the president of the United States, and they will do it almost as an FU to the left or progressives or liberals generally, right? You see this with Piers Morgan, who's like, I'm basically a liberal, except for trans people are gross, and you see it with Bill Maher. And really the key to the way that these guys operate and the way they live their lives is that they only like you if you're nice to them. That's it. It's the barrier to entry is this person was nice to me. Ergo, everything that we're seeing playing out right now, all of the American gulags that are being created in El Salvador, in Louisiana, more Palestinians swept up. We're going to talk to Kate about this a little bit later on. All that is besides the point because, in fact, at this one dinner, in this one evening, Donald Trump was very nice. And actually, the real enemy is anyone who wouldn't want us to come together to have a conversation.
Not the leader of anything, except maybe a contingent of centrist-minded people who think there's got to be a better way of running this country than hating each other every minute. So meet up in person. Maybe it'll be different. Spoiler alert, it was. A lot of people told me they loved it, but not all. And we agreed. The people who don't even want us to talk, we don't like you. Don't talk, as opposed to what? Writing the same editorial for the millionth time and making 25-hour speeches into the wind? Really, that's what liberals have? He takes the piss out of everybody else and we can hold ours? Okay, that's my report. You can hate me for it, but I'm not a liar. Trump was gracious and measured, and why he isn't that in other settings, I don't know, and I can't answer, and it's not my place to answer.
Why he isn't measured and gracious in other settings, I don't know. I don't have the answer, and it's not my place to answer. My guy, you do a weekly show on HBO about critiquing American politics. This is the president. And it's not your place to answer or think about why he wasn't as gracious in front of you as he is, I don't know, with President Zelensky, who you made a joke about not wearing a suit. He's like, am I going to wear a suit? Well, I'm not going to do President Zelensky. Bill Maher would be hiding behind the first fucking Ukrainian grandma he could find, where he'd have to survive a day in the shoes of President Zelensky. So let's just put that aside. But there you see, look, are you mad at me for talking? What else am I supposed to do? Okay, look, no one is mad about taking a meeting with Donald Trump. The problem is that meeting in and of itself is the point. It's a W for Trump to say, I spoke to a liberal. This is me extending the olive branch. And by virtue of the fact that you are getting that invitation should tell you a little bit of something about how adversarial you actually are. There's nothing wrong with meeting and giving him a true piece of your mind, right? I mean, I don't know. I guess would I meet with Donald Trump? Fuck no. Of course I wouldn't fucking meet with that fuck. No. But what I'm saying is you need to be adversarial instead of what he is doing is taking the meeting and coming back and being like, see, the real problem isn't creating an American gulag. It isn't rounding up immigrants with legal status. It isn't rescinding $2 billion from Columbia University because they allowed freedom of speech on their campuses. The real problem is you out there who didn't even want me to talk to Donald Trump. Well, get what? F you. It's the same thing that Tommy Lahren used to say, where she was like, you can agree with me or you can hate me, but I'm having the conversation. Yeah, you're having the conversation about like how Beyonce is a Black Panther. Like you're having like, and how like it's terrorism. Like you understand the kind of conversation you're having. You're having a conversation about why you should be a second-class citizen. So like, it's just when elites say, this person was nice to me, that's when they like it. Now, here's some of the substance about what they did talk about, right? Because actually, Bill Maher apparently did push back on the Iran agreement. But then listen how he descends into all of the things that he actually does agree with Trump on. And we'll talk about how dangerous this is.
He was asking me about the nuclear situation in Iran in a very genuine, hey, I think you're a smart guy, I want your opinion sort of way. And I said, well, obviously you're privy to things about it I'm not, but for what it's worth, I thought the Obama deal was worth letting play out because we made Iran destroy 98% of the uranium and they were 15 years away from a bomb. And then I said to him, but we got rid of that. You got rid of that. He didn't get mad or call me a left-wing lunatic. He took it in. I told him I thought parts of his plan for Gaza were wacky, but that I had supported him in the idea that Gaza could be Dubai instead of hell. I told him he was wrong when he tweeted the night before that I was critical of all things Trump. Not true. Check the tapes. Moving Israel's embassy to Jerusalem, loved it. The border did need to be controlled. I'm glad the cops are getting their morale back. DEI had gone too far. Biological men shouldn't be playing women's sports. Europe should pay for their defense. And of course, it makes sense that Arab countries should take in Arab refugees, like the million Syrians who wound up in Germany when Saudi Arabia took none. He said to me, you're right, they took none.
Okay, so this is so perfect how he was like, I think some of your plans for Gaza are wacky, but I do think it could be Dubai. Okay, so what part of his plans are wacky? And also, is that how you describe genocide, ethnic cleansing? Wacky? Forcible removal, bombing children in hospitals, taking out the last doctors, or zip tying medics and executing them. Is that wacky? That's a good, fun word. Oh, we're doing a comedy show now. It's wacky. So then he's like, well, I pushed back on the Iran deal. I thought it was good. And you took us. Okay, good for you. Good for you, Bill. Then he proceeds to basically hook, line, and sinker everything else. DEI had gone too far. We are paying for too much for Europe. I liked the move from the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. All of these things. But I mean, all he is, I mean, let's be real, like he's to the right of Joe Biden. That's all that is. That is Joe Biden plus Piers Morgan. That's all this elitist fuck is. And so I think we need to understand like this whole idea that we can come together and find agreement. No, man, this guy's already 75% on board with what Donald Trump is doing. And he has the audacity to call himself a liberal while he says biological men should just say cis men. Like, or I mean, I guess you can't say cis men because then you'd have to admit that actually they're trans women, whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he can't go that far. And the last thing I'll say, and this was so amazing, that there was a moment I was like, oh, wow, is this real? He said, he told Donald Trump that, you're kind of scaring people. And I was like, oh, I'm glad he told Donald Trump that. And here's what Trump said, or what Bill Maher said he said.
At one point, I said to him, you're scaring people. Do you really want to be scaring your own citizens so much? And I know now you're all saying, and what did he say to that? Honestly, I don't remember.
I don't remember. Whatever. You're scaring citizens. But anyway, more about this fish. I love it. Is it fisho fillet? Oh, wow. Amazing. You don't remember what he said back to you? Why the fuck did you even say anything? Why are you even telling us about it? You were too distracted by the sycophantry to even remember what he said back to you. So again, all of this is so pathetic. We've known it's pathetic. It's basically like Mika and Joe Brzezinski being honest about their meeting, right? Which is like, well, actually, we do think that woke has gone too far, like just shut up about it. You're not countercultural. You're not subversive. You're not politically relevant. You're an elitist boomer and you're so fucking cringe. I'm tired of this guy. I'm tired of these folks who can say we can meet in the middle. They would take a meeting with Donald Trump. Meanwhile, people are being swept up off the streets. You know who you are. You know who I'm talking about. There's a lot of them to go around. And sadly, they have a lot of prominent positions in alternative media, mainstream media. Bill Maher still has his goddamn job. This guy can't do one thing. You should have gotten thrown out of that dinner. You should have been thrown out. If you actually want to take that meeting, you actually want to get under his skin, you would get thrown out of the meeting. Instead, you're doing this in order to say, look, you crazy libs can't even sit down with Hitler. Wow. You know what I mean? Wow. Okay. I heard him out. I gave him a chance. I'm a hero. I'm going to get a very cushy spot in the gulag, okay? I'm going to get all the cigs I want, all right? Just you're going to come asking. You're going to come asking for them. And I'm going to be like, no. Guys, obviously, my voice is a little bit better, and I have to let you know, we need to all relax. And sometimes, in fact, I just popped a focus gummy because I've been in a daze of potty training. And that is thanks to Sunset Lake CBD, our sponsor for the show. They're currently having a 420 spring sale, and it's 30% off the entire site. $100 of spending gets you a whole jar of Vibe gummies for free. $150 gets you a 40 count jar of Vibe gummies. Vibe gummies are great. They're CBD and THC. They also donate 4.2% of the sales to the Last Prisoner Project. So what are you waiting for, everybody? SunsetLakeCBD.com. Don't use coupon code for Antifa. Use coupon code 420, 420, and get 30% off your entire order. I hope you check it out. I hope you find some peace, find some sleep, and find some relaxation. We love Sunset Lake CBD. They're such an awesome company. Thank you for being our sponsor. And with that, let me bring in, super happy to have her back on the show, stand-up comedian, writer, actor, who's performed at comedy festivals around the country, and her debut comedy album, Black and Blue, is out now, and everyone should listen to it. Please welcome Karinda Dobbins.
Hey.
Hello. Hi. I thought I was going to have to bail on the entire show there for a second, Karinda.
God, I'm glad you didn't, because I put on a black t-shirt, so let's do it.
We're remarking that Karinda's go-to outfit for this show is a black t-shirt.
Karinda, I'm always in mourning when I come on the show.
You're always like, do I have to pay attention to what is going on? Karinda, it's been the first time since you've been on since Trump was reelected.
Yes.
Are you feeling great again?
I think I'm actually feeling the opposite of great. I'm feeling horrible. I don't even watch the news anymore. Like, I used to watch the news every day faithfully. I need to see what's going on. But with this guy, I can't do it. Like, I can't wake up every day
and be that stressed out.
Like, are we at war with Greenland? Like, what's happening? Like, I can't do that to myself.
No, you can't. And more specifically, are we going to build a crypto colony on Greenland, and start like Noah's Ark, but only for like unfuckable tech bros, start a new society there. That apparently is the plan, according to.
Or are we going to call it America Land?
Oh yeah, exactly. Red, white, and blue land. In fact, I unironically, some senator or some House member floated calling it red, white, and blue land straight up. Like it's I remember NATO used to say in the first Trump administration, it's like a work speed up for those of us who write comedy. Like, you can't be writing this fast because you can't outpace reality.
Yeah, you can't keep up. I mean, it's you have to have a new 10 minutes every night, every day.
I know, straight up. I know topical humor is done. Karinda, I bring you on to bitch about whatever you want to bitch about. And oh my God, there's so much. But what are you bitching about today?
I think I want to bitch about just the Sons of Confederacy is what I'm calling them. They're rewriting history. They're taking Harriet Tubman off of the National Park Service website. They're trying to remove Jackie Robinson service from. I mean, they're just trying to. This isn't like DEI related. This is like just Black erasure. Like, they're just trying to remove Black people from every government website. Yep. Whatever we've done, just get them off of there.
The Tuskegee pilots gone. It's like, but it's so funny because it's like, what if white fragility were weaponized? And it's like so petty. You know what I'm saying? It's like not even. It's just the pettiest. Like, yeah, the Tuskegee Airmen. Oh, these Black airmen, and
put J.D. Vance in charge of getting rid of. I guess he's calling it improper content at museums. J.D. Vance.
Right. You're like, you went to Harvard, you go to museums, right? He's like, no.
This is the guy who just
too many naked men that make me feel a certain way.
This is the guy who just talked about Chinese peasants after he wrote a book about growing up poor with a drug-addicted mom in Appalachia. I mean, this is the guy you're putting in charge of getting rid of Black history in museums. Okay, well, if you're going to do that, like, let's put Al Sharpton in charge of the American National History Museum. Like, let him play around in there and rearrange some white history. Like that's, it's got to be,
it's got to be even. Well, look, when we finally do come to power, I hope that happens. And I hope it's like anyone who ever owned other people should be put on blast. First and foremost, that's just like the start of their name. It's like even before the last name, it's like, Thomas owned blankety blank amount of slaves, Jefferson. Like, that's what it should be. You sent me the article about, they're restoring the Harriet Tubman information from the website.
They put it back. I mean, after people made us think about it, of course. They put it back, but it's like, why are you taking it down? There's never an answer for. They're like, oh, we didn't know that. Of course you knew. We didn't know that they were going to take down Harriet Tubman. We didn't know that they were going to remove Jackie. Going to do this to the Tuskegee. You didn't know any of it. So these people are just going and taking down Black history without any directive from you or your administration. You don't know nothing about it.
Oh yeah, it's eliminated. The other my favorite is they tried to restore the Harriet Tubman information by editing like the information about the Underground Railroad. They were like the edited version called the railroad, quote, one of the most significant expressions of the American civil rights movement, and describe, well, like, I think you're in the wrong period,
Yeah.
number one.
Yeah, who wrote that?
It bridged the divides of race, religion, sectional differences, and nationality. Bridge the divides. Like, yeah, they desegregated. It was really Harriet Tubman desegregated the Underground Railroad. It was amazing. Whites could ride in the front finally. In fact, it was unfair for many, many months that whites were not allowed onto the Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
They had their ticket and everything. It was a literal railroad, right? It was a physical, like they don't know shit about shit.
It's like, let's get rid of all that harsh language about slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Because slavery was bad, but this language is very coarse.
Exactly. It makes me feel bad when I read it.
And that's what really all this is about, right? Well,
mm-hmm.
if you didn't want to read about it, you should not have done it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to glaze back over it after the fact.
If you didn't want to read about it, you shouldn't have done it is great. And it's kind of a good lesson for right now. Like, hey, if in 20 years you don't want to read about how you gutted all of the federal government that led to massive economic collapse and international turmoil, don't do the shit right now because it's kind of playing out the same way.
They're already rewriting that day. They're already.
Yeah. I mean, at least in 10 years, the Dennis Prager, history books for kids will be like, what a glorious day the tariffs reversal was.
Trump said he didn't even see it. They were asking, like, did you see the Dow, Joe? Did you see the stock market going? He was like, no. I haven't seen anything. I've been in here in this office all day. I haven't seen anything.
Wait, Trump said this?
Yeah. They were asking him at his press conference. They were like, did you see?
I haven't heard anything about it. Well, that's what he says when he doesn't. That's when he says when he knows about it. It's like when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died and he's like, oh, it's the first time you're telling me. What? Stocks who? What is that market? We are going to, so many things happened this week, but only two. We're going to skip Orange Man Bad because, my God, the Orange Man is really the focus of this show. This is the week where. So this was the week where President of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, who is currently torturing 238 non-criminals who were deported from the United States to El Salvador. Some are Venezuelan, some are Salvadoran. He had the audacity to just come visit the United States, come visit the White House freely. Guy moving very freely, passport and all good. And he met with Donald Trump at the White House. Now, we're going to talk about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who's the guy who was ordered returned by the Supreme Court. I'm going to talk about him a little bit later on in the show. But for right now, the thing that's grabbing the headlines, which I feel a lot of ways about this, Karinda, because it's always like every time something extreme happens, the media rushes to it and is like, oh my God, are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? Are you going to put us all in jail? As if they like have like a punishment fetish and they like really want it to happen. But no, it's important.
They have a ratings fetish.
100%, they have a ratings fetish.
And that, so, like, are you gonna stuff brings it in?
Yep. Are you gonna stay for a third term? Oh my God. How? Wow. Okay, tell us about it.
Let me know how you're gonna do it. We'll do a Dateline special on it.
But this seemed to be not of the media's prompting. And so before the meeting began, and the video is a little choppy, but you can hear him. This is President Trump asking President Nayib Bukele of El Salvador whether or not he can create more prisons like SCOTUS, which is the one that Kilmar and others are being held in, but specifically for homegrown criminals in the United States. Take a listen.
Demanded the people wanted to change their governments, and they wanted to. He demanded, they love you, they love what you do. You know, I'm not your supporter. I want him to do, homegrown criminals next. Yeah. I said, homegrowns are next. The homegrown's built. You got to build about 5 more places. Yeah, that's fair. All right. It's not big enough. No, yeah. Come on. So this is a much different office than you're.
Okay, so then he goes back to the tour, but he's saying, and it's hard to obviously make out what he's saying, but he's like, homegrown terrorists are next, homegrown criminals. And you got to build like 5 more facilities for that, but you can do it. And you can kind of hear his administration, his cabinet that's like already seated. He's sort of telling it to him quietly, but he's also like opening up and like, everyone's laughing because he's wacky, as Bill Maher would say. He's wacky ideas. But then, Karinda, they sit down and openly start discussing this idea of deporting Americans, who knows, criminal or non, to El Salvador.
Are you willing to pay for those facilities to be opened if new ones were going to be built?
I'd do something. We'd help them out. Yeah, we help them. They're great facilities, very strong facilities, and they don't play games. I'd like to go a step further. I mean, I said it to Pam. I don't know what the laws are. We always have to obey the laws, but we also have homegrown criminals that push people into subways, that hit elderly ladies on the back of the head with a baseball bat when they're not looking, that are absolute monsters. I'd like to include them in the group of people to get them out of the country, but you'll have to be looking at the laws on that, Steve, okay?
Okay. You'll have to
it's
be
all
looking at the
great
laws.
when you hear the president of the United States say he doesn't know what the laws are regarding shipping American citizens off to an El Salvador prison. Warm.
Mhm.
It's got to be comforting.
Yeah, I don't know what the laws are. We're asking Pam about it. Well, here's the thing, Karinda, he doesn't give a shit about the law. He doesn't even care what the laws are because the law said you got to return Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the United States, 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, and they're already not complying with that.
So what
And
are we going to do about that? What is Justice Roberts going to do if Trump defies the Supreme Court?
Right, exactly.
Are they gonna put him in jail? Are they going to?
I definitely think so. I mean, we have just an incredible justice system, and they absolutely have U.S. Marshals that are loyal to the Constitution over the president, and they will definitely lock him up. Yeah, no, Elie Mystal has been writing about this, and he's come on this show, and he's basically like, look, you can rule against Trump all you want, but like, you and what army? Like, who's actually going to do the enforcing? Because we're in a constitutional crisis straight up. And so if you're failing to hold this person accountable, and like, Karinda, I would argue, like, he's talking about homegrown criminals. First of all, the FBI years ago said, yeah, we got homegrown criminals. They're all like white anti-government militias. They're all like, white supremacist psychos who are armed to the teeth, many of whom were arrested on January 6th, who just got let out by Donald Trump. So like, that's where the homegrown terrorism is coming from.
That's
right.
Terrorism, Francesca. That's That's patriotism.
Oh, right. You know what?
When they do crime, it's patriotism. Don't get those words confused.
It's not okay to hit an elderly woman with a bat in the back of the head. But if you
Trump
do
flag.
that draped in a MAGA flag, then it kind of is patriotic.
Yeah. How about this? Like, how about we start with all the people who were convicted in his administration? How about we send those people over first? Check out the El Salvador prison, if they survive it.
If they survive it, then it's no big deal.
Tell them it's no big deal.
We can do a little switcheroo. I mean, yeah, even the people in his administration or adjacent, like Peter Navarro or Steve Bannon, they've served time because they refused to testify about that very event, the criminal event of January 6th. I mean, it seems sometimes tiresome to keep on mentioning January 6th, but you have to remember that if the shoe were on the other foot, how much we would never, ever forget and we shouldn't forget talking about it. But if that were actually a bunch of Black Lives Matter protesters, if they were even nearly a shred as dangerous as the right says they were, then...
But let's also not forget, Francesca, that he had an idea of his first term to pardon these people. And they were begging him to do so, and he didn't do it.
Right.
He walked off onto that helicopter and was like, see ya. So for him to come back now and to pardon all these people, it's really...
It's kind of on us. Isn't it kind of on us?
It's really kind of on us because we allowed him to do it. The first time he was afraid to because he was going to run again, right?
Yep.
But now we have given him the political capital to do exactly what he was afraid to do at the end of his first term.
100%. And, I think that, starting off the show talking about Bill Maher, reminds me of someone who I've fallen out of favor with, which is Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks Network, who also said that, we're crazy to believe that Donald Trump would do any of the things that he very clearly said he was going to do. Putting people in detention centers, rounding people up, that I sound crazy for even saying that. Meanwhile, it's all laid out in Project 2025, the hollowing out of the federal workforce on
Project 2025 that he said he didn't know anything about?
Right, that he said I have no idea. No, of course you do, because all of your nominees are authors of Project 2025. And I was told I was crazy for it. And now look at what's happening. So it is on people who slow and soft walked the impact of a second Trump administration. And it is definitely on Democrats, honestly, for fumbling the ball on it. You know, I wish we could do. God, I wish Biden had left earlier. God, I wish he was actually going to be a transitional candidate, and especially a transitional candidate when October 7th happened and he threw down with Bibi Netanyahu. And I seriously don't think that Kamala Harris would have done the same. I know people get really mad at me when I say that, but I don't. Now, did she definitely throw down with some of his policies while she was running? Yeah. And I think that bit her in the butt. So,
but I also think when you look at the numbers, Francesca, I mean, I obviously I think Biden should have stepped aside much earlier.
Yeah.
But when you look at the numbers of, I don't think anything Kamala said or did was going to change the way this election played out. Because the people who weren't going to vote for Kamala, the numbers were not big enough for them to have swayed this election either way.
No,
I mean,
agreed.
people were not going to vote for Kamala Harris. You know, people were like, oh, these eggs are too high. These eggs are still high. They were like, oh, she won't be strong enough on, you know, foreign policy. This guy.
She's like, I have a Glock right now and I'm not afraid to use it.
I was like, she was a prosecutor. You guys knocked her for it, but then you're also saying she's not strong enough to.
Yeah, she's a literal cop. Like that.
I was like,
you know.
Let's just cut down to the base of it. Like, they were not going to elect a Black woman. Like, that's you can say all of these things. All you can throw all the Democratic spin cycle, and also I want to say, the Democrats threw her under the bus after she wasn't elected. After all of the things they told her not to say, not to do, don't go too far left, don't go too far into progressive, don't go, all these things that you guys tried to mold her, shape her into. As soon as she did most of what you guys wanted, you threw her under the bus. You stabbed her in the back 15 times.
Of course, but and 100%, and like blaming her as if you didn't consult her a million times to do what she did and say what she said and not say what she didn't say. No, I agree. We got to move on. But the last on this, like Caroline Leavitt, who's a press secretary, said that they are looking into how to deport Americans. Look, Karinda, it doesn't have to have a legal basis. Like, I'm curious what Kate has to say on this. We'll talk to her in a little bit. But if there is a will, there is a way for this administration. You know, they will get rid of whoever needs to be gotten rid of, skirt any law, avoid any, interpret any language the way they want to interpret it, if it means that they get to deport an American who's critical of Israel, deport an American who's critical of Trump, deport anybody for any reason. That's beautiful to them. They love that because, again, this is about redefining citizenship. Citizenship is not about where you were born or the color of your skin. It is about loyalty. They want utter and total loyalty to this administration and this country. And honestly,
also they want fear.
100%.
Right? Because against them or anything that they deem to be un-American, they want to show people that we can disappear you.
Yeah.
We can make you go away. It doesn't matter what your status is in this country. It doesn't matter if you're legal, illegal. It doesn't matter. We will ship you off. The Supreme Court will say, bring you back. And this country won't do anything about it. Like, that is the territory that we are in right now. And all of the people who told us that we were being overdramatic about what this president would do if he got free reign, all of those people, please raise your hand, come to the front. Like, I don't see any of you out here on TikTok talking about how dangerous this guy really is and how everything that we said has come to fruition.
Agreed.
I don't see y'all. Where y'all at?
I mean, that to me is like that is the most dangerous thing. That's enemy number one. And sadly, like I was mentioning earlier, a lot of the people doing some of the sane washing of Trump are in mainstream news and are on and have really big platforms saying it's all good. It's nothing to worry about. He's just a little rough around the edges. And it's like, no, man, we are in the upside down. We are, we are whatever, like we're gone. But let's
we
talk
also
about,
have to remember a lot of these media outlets and newspapers and all of these are owned by the billionaires who are now kissing the ring.
speaking of
If you want to
billionaires,
talk about a free press, I don't know if we have that anymore.
agreed. Patreon.com/Bituation Room is where you go to support this little labor of love. Speaking of billionaires kissing the ring, Jeff Bezos, who is currently taking his Amazon money that we give him every single day, or some of us, which we should definitely nationalize under our dictatorship. And he's sending it to space on Blue Origin, which is his version of SpaceX, that, yes, has some research purposes, yes, has some billion-dollar contracts from the federal government, but is also pioneering what we all kind of knew what a lot of space travel was about, which is tourism for rich people. Tourist trips that, in this case, lasted 11 minutes long. And we got a taste of Blue Origin on Monday when 6 women went into space for just a little bit, including Bezos' wife, Gayle King of CBS, Katy Perry of the reason Hillary Clinton lost 2016, and bioastronautics research scientist Amanda Nguyen, Aisha Bao, a former NASA engineer. They called their trip Taking Up Space because they're all women and they're taking up space and girl power. And oh my God, it's so cringe. I cannot breathe. There's a few different angles to this, but I did just want to play 2 things that were very, very fun, which is Gayle King being the most relatable possible as they're all boarding this flight. Everyone's supposed to ring a bell somehow to like let the heavens know we're coming. And Gayle King is just like me before I go on a ride that I know is going to make me sick at Disneyland or something. And here she is ringing the bell very unenthusiastically.
And here they come.
Here we go.
Loading into the capsule.
And the significance here of the bell, and I should note before I have you that each crew names themselves. They have named themselves these 6 taking up space as each one is ringing a bell. And the significance of that is what, Ariane?
This is one of our traditions. All astronauts throughout history in various programs have had their traditions. For us, we always want our astronauts to ring.
Taking up space, ring the bell, and Gail's like, and apparently she was like, I was nervous.
Gail looked like every black auntie before she get on a roller coaster. It's like I really don't want to go on this, but my kids made me. She looked afraid, and she, and rightfully so. I mean, obviously,
yes. It was so good. And then she landed. Now, Katy Perry and Gayle King both kiss the ground after landing. Again, 11 or 10 minutes and 20 seconds later. Katy Perry said she has like new appreciation for the earth and like taking care of it. But also, I will not be giving up my 5th home. You're welcome. And this is what
what
happened.
I will say about Katy Perry is that they said that she sung.
Yeah, let me play this before you say it. Yeah, let me play this.
The best part was when we got back in our seats after 0 G's, Katie sang "What a Wonderful World."
She did?
Isn't that nice?
Oh, come on.
She sang "What a Wonderful World." I see
Did you just all
dreams.
start
Oh,
crying?
yes.
Oh.
Because we'd been asking her to sing all the time, and she wouldn't. And then, because everybody said, sing roar, sing fireworks. And she said, it's not about me. I wanted to talk about the world.
Wow.
It's a wonderful world.
What I will say is that I'm sure that Gayle King sung that better than Katy Perry did on that flight. I mean, she is not a vocalist. And what I will say is that during DEI, how dare you, we're losing everything. And a white woman who can't sing now is, no. You're adding insult to injury, Katie. Don't.
She brought a little daisy on board and was like playing, twirling it for the camera. Her daughter's name is Daisy. There she is, stepping out of the capsule. Yeah, singing "A Wonderful World."
She had her set list, I guess, from her next tour.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
showed it.
It's like so notoriously like Louis Armstrong, that you're like,
What
you're like, really? A wonderful
I say is
world?
that I think we're doing what pop culture usually does. It's like we're focusing on people we shouldn't be. Like there were actually 2 women on that flight who actually worked for NASA, and
Right.
nobody is talking about them. So I want to give a shout out to the 2 women who actually are scientists who were actually if we're going to look to somebody for STEM or to influence girls to go into STEM, like we should be talking about them.
Yes, Amanda Nguyen and Aisha Bowie, former NASA engineer. Yeah, the problem with all of this, though, is that simultaneously, while they're burning up all these fossil fuels, and look, Amanda was doing some amount of research about like how the body reacts when you go, into zero G's, but at the same time, there are massive plans to cut NASA, whether it comes it has to deal with climate science. This is from The Guardian today. NOAA's being slashed, but also there is, specifically when it comes to DEI, there's someone at NASA tasked with making it a diverse and more inclusive organization. Mind you, only 12% of people who've been in space as of 2019 are women or have been women. And that person who was tasked with that, her name is Neela Rajendra. I haven't seen any real reporting except for people on Twitter excited because Neela was fired because she works on diversity programs at NASA, the likes of which specifically try to include, women who were on this Blue Origin flight. So to me, it's just rich women. Like, and again, the researchers aside, even the fact that King and Katy Perry are eclipsing their work shows you what's wrong with having privatized space travel. Again, carbon footprint, but also just like it looks like a game. You are ignoring actual female scientists, Black scientists. First of all, Sally Ride, 83, was the first American woman in space. She's also like a gay icon. Also, this I didn't know. Mercury 13 was a trip in the 60s. 13 women who were training to go into space. They could have been the first all-women crew into space, but the government denied their ability to use military training facilities in order to actually complete the training. In order to go into space, you need like the military access, and they were like, "Nah, you can't have that." And that was in the 60s. So like, you could have called your trip
one of the
Mercury
women,
6,
one of the women who was on that Mercury 13 actually has gone up on Blue Origin, and also the first Black man that was tasked to be in the astronaut program under Kennedy, but they nixed him after he was assassinated, actually has gone up with Blue Origin as well. So, I mean, I can see some of the value in some of the people that got cut and never got up there, going in private space travel, but it's obviously mostly for rich people. And when I was researching this thing, I see a lot of people in the comments like, are you doing this during this time? The economy is bad and we're so horribly, strapped for cash. And I'm like, really, Natalie? Like, when was the last time you stopped Amazon from throwing shit on your doorstep? It's like all of these people in the comments talking about how strapped they are for cash. I'm like, nobody has stopped using Amazon during this time where we're strapped for cash, because this is the way that this guy makes his money. This is the way he sends Blue Origin into the sky. It's like, so if we as Americans are not going to stop using Amazon, we can't be complaining about how he spends the billions that we give him.
Well, I backslid when I had a kid, but I was largely weaned off of it. And then with the potty training, I'm a little bit back on it. But I agree with you.
I've never had it. So I'm just like, we got to we can't keep talking and keep doing. Yeah, send me the space.
I think you bringing in that knowledge that like one of the people on Mercury 13 were on, one of the Black astronauts also went on Blue Origin. That's good. Like, I think that's good. But also, I do think space needs to move beyond this individual person sort of realizing how small we are or how big we are, how beautiful it is, you know, they're actually, and I think this goes to like my larger critiques of like space in general. Number one, I do think it should be federally funded. I don't think we should have private trips like this. But number two, a lot of what the research is about trying to get plant life that lives on Earth to survive in space. And you're like, okay, but why would we need to do that? Could it be because we are burning so much carbon that is destroying the atmosphere on this planet that is beautiful, that is gifted to us, that we do not take care of? Like, that's sort of where my mind is at on space travel. But so
we have the opportunity to make Earth what you guys are trying to go to Mars to do. It's like all you have to do is put all the money that you're trying to put into making Mars livable into Earth. Like this doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why are you trying to go to a planet when you can save the one that...
Yep, exactly. Karinda, thank you so much for joining us. We had a little technical difficulty. Next time, just come over to my house, and you can also be my voice because was giving out there. But it's good.
Yeah, your setup is nice. I like the purple rain.
I know. There's a seat right here for you. And also, Karinda's going to come through to the April 23rd Pasadena Ice House show. So catch her there. And also, where can people find you, follow your work, see you live?
I'm doing a couple shows in LA, but I'll be at the Punchline in June. I believe it's June 20. Don't ask me the dates. I'll be there in June. You guys can check my website,
KarindaDobbins.com.
If you want to come see me.
Go see Karinda. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, as always. We love Karinda. And with that, let me bring in someone who I've been following for the last little bit, although she's been working a while as an advocate and immigration attorney. She's from Austin, Texas, and she's worked with asylum seekers for 20 years. In 2015, she founded the Lincoln-Goldfinch Law, an award-winning immigration law firm. Please welcome Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch. Thank you, Kate, for being here.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. I've been watching the show. I'm really excited. I'm excited to learn about your content and be here with you today.
Learn about the content. Hell yeah. Well, I'm excited to have you on because you have been on social media breaking down, you know, these decisions that are coming down the pike, the people being swept up in all of these unlawful detentions and deportations. And you have been doing this work for years now, decades. So I guess I just wanted to, before we zoom in, I want to talk about Supreme Court. I want to talk about the Palestinian who was about to be an American, Mohsen Madawi. But I do want to talk to you about like the state of our immigration system. And just to explain to people who don't know, what's immigration court like pre-Trump or even without this latest descent into authoritarianism? What was the state of our immigration courts?
Well, first of all, you could trust that the law would be followed. I mean, I think that's the biggest distinction, really, even in just the last couple of weeks. Now, when I have people ask questions about, well, can I be detained at my citizenship interview? Or can this thing or that thing or the other thing happen? The answer is legally no, and yet it still could happen. So it's like all bets are off. That's the biggest change. But, you know, I don't know how many presidential administrations now, 20 years I've been doing this. And I've seen a lot of human rights abuses and due process violations within the immigration system and the court system. I'm in Texas. So like family detention, family separation, unaccompanied kids, horrors at the border. But typically those were one-offs, and something would occur and you do some media campaign and the administration would change course. I remember this little girl that was detained with brain cancer in 2014. And it was like, a couple of local media stories got her out in 48 hours. And now it's just, it's everywhere. I worry now that we're going to get just fatigued by all of the news stories and we're going to stop paying attention to the individual stories. And I know that we're all aware that now what's happening is they stop, once they're done with the immigrants, then they're going to come after us. And I think we're all aware of that, but it's
But I mean, just in general, like, before this, I think I've heard, immigration court described as a life or death sentence carried out by a traffic court, because of the stakes versus the funding, meaning, asylum seekers who could be deported back to incredibly unsafe situations, people who need life-saving medical care, on and on and on. But the courts themselves are backlogged, underfunded, and they often cannot take this time, to actually help people, get the assistance that they need. So that was already the sort of pressure cooker that we were working with, even before Trump decided to take a hard right turn, even back in 2016 and also now. One of the things, that I think I've seen and I think I agree with is, look, we were all on the streets in the early months of Trump in 2016 or 2017 when, children were being separated from their families, and you don't see that same outpouring when it is happening again.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I was front line. It was the summer of 2018 when they started the zero tolerance policy, and what happened was I went out to this detention center near Austin where I live, and one day I met with a couple of moms, and I was, helping them prepare for their credible fear interviews, and they kept talking about their kids, and their kids had been ripped out of their arms, and they could not focus on anything other than where their kids were. At this point, it had been a couple of weeks, and over that summer, it became clear, like in the beginning of the summer, they were ripping these children from their parents' arms, just like horrific. You can just imagine the events that were going down. And then toward the end of the summer, the Border Patrol officers who were doing all of this got really sort of wise to the method to do it with minimum drama. So they would lie to the parents about, I'm taking your kid into the other room for a photo, or I'm taking you to court. And then they would just never reunite them. But I guess that's what I mean. Like, that was a one-off, and that they were separating these families at the border was just so shocked the conscience of the American people that there was an outcry, and there was federal litigation and then it just stopped. And now that is routine. I mean, the border's pretty quiet. There's not a whole lot going on, but you better believe there are family separations occurring on a daily basis at the border. And now they're happening in all of these detentions in the interior. And it's just like, it's too much to pay attention to each of the individual stories now.
Yeah. We're speaking with immigration attorney Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch, and I wanted to ask you, Kristi Noem, DHS secretary, said that the men who were deported to SCOTUS prison in El Salvador, they should be in prison for the rest of their lives. And after the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who is a Maryland father, who had legal status in this country, who was awaiting his process, because there is credible threat that if deported, he is actually Salvadoran, but if deported to El Salvador, he could be victimized at the hands of the very gang members who he ostensibly is now sharing a cell with. The Donald Trump seems to be not willing to comply with this order that said that he should effectuate and facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia. In fact, Kate, they're saying that actually this order ruled in their favor. I don't even understand how you spin this.
I was watching that press conference yesterday and just sick to my stomach. I mean, there's something that keeps you up at night. It's this case because, just the story of Kilmar himself, that he came here, he went through a whole asylum hearing. I mean, he got withholding of removal, but it's very similar. Married, kids, just picked up off the streets, and now he's in this, an extermination camp, as I think the appropriate term of CCOT. But then last week when the Supreme Court decision came down and it was unanimous, I was sitting at dinner with my family and I burst into tears and I ran outside. I mean, it makes me emotional right now just thinking about I got to record a video, hallelujah, the judiciary's got our backs. This is, going to happen. And then the next morning I was thinking, they kind of split hairs with the sort of effectuate versus facilitate and what means what and all of that. But I expected that the Trump administration would sort of pretend like they were facilitating, we asked and it didn't happen. And then that would be the battle that would play out. But then yesterday in the press conference with the president of El Salvador, just the blatant bald-faced absolute preposterous, laughable lie that they tried to sell the American public, that this decision was in their favor and that the court isn't trying to step in and tell them to bring him home. It is flat out lying. And that to me was like the scariest moment of it all. Because, we've all been watching, like, when is the moment when the checks and balances stop and the democracy crumbles? And I think right now, actually, as we speak, there's the lower court judge is reviewing the case again. And so we'll see how that goes. My guess and my hope, my fervent hope, is that this goes back up to the Supreme Court, who's not going to, take too kindly with the mischaracterization of their order by the administration, and they might come out more clearly. And then what? Who knows? But
No, and speaking of which, we mentioned that Nayib Bukele traveled to the White House in DC, and here they are meeting, and this is beyond like, we what can we do about American citizens, which, I don't know if that's the word is beyond, but this is specifically about whether or not Nayib Bukele will return Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I mean, it is wild. We're being told that these people who did not do anything, the majority of whom are not criminals, are a danger and they're lawless when you have this actual foreigner. I mean, like, I'm sorry, but Nayib Bukele is basically going like, no, I'm not going to return any of these folks. Take a listen.
Can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed to not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
It's always
how can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
So you can release him inside El Salvador?
Yeah, but I'm not releasing, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. We just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
They'd love to have a criminal, released into our
country. There's a fascination.
They would love it.
They're
sick. These are sick people.
Pointing to the media, these are sick people. Somebody laughs and chuckles. So he's saying, Nayib Bukele is saying, what am I supposed to do? Release a terrorist? I can't smuggle a terrorist back into the U.S., let alone release him. And because the reporter's like, well, what about releasing him into El Salvador? No. And so I guess what I was what I was trying to hint at was like, this is a foreigner, an actual foreigner, basically like, I'm going to openly defy U.S. law. Like, forget the president. This is just U.S. law. And Donald Trump, the president, is like, well, they're sick. You're sane. I mean, his mind is just an old geezer, an old racist geezer, like on, complete melt. But maybe just give me your reactions to the idea of calling Kilmar a terrorist, saying there's no way he could release him.
Yeah, he uses the word preposterous, and I think his statement is preposterous because the actual Supreme Court of the United States, in a unanimous decision just days ago, ordered that president sitting right next to him to facilitate the return of this man. So how could it be characterized as smuggling him into the country if the whole country is waiting for us to bring him back? And I think, just it's like stepping back, the thing to keep in mind about Kilmar and the rest of the Venezuelans, the vast majority of whom are not criminals, are not gang members, based on what their families are telling us, is that we didn't just deport these men. We rounded them up and sent them into a lifetime prison sentence in a torture camp. Like, that is a really big distinction that is unprecedented. Nothing like this has ever happened, or at least in any of our lifetimes, for sure. And this is going to be such a moment in, they're going to study this moment for centuries to come because of what we're doing to these men. And hopefully, here's my hope. My hope is that this goes back up, that the lower court judge orders that, more clearly that they return him. It goes back up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says, absolutely not. You've mischaracterized our decision, and you may no longer deport any person until you have fixed this situation. That's what I hope the Supreme Court says clearly. And then there's a stop to all of this. That's one fork in this road. And then, of course, the other fork in the road is the courts don't speak out strongly enough, or the Trump administration just actually says, we hear what the court said and we don't care. And now we're deporting U.S. citizens. And then it's the pro-Palestine U.S. citizen activists. And then it's the immigration lawyers like me. And then the rest of us end up in these extermination camps in other countries. I mean, that's also on the table.
That could also be a possibility. I mean, right. Yeah, there is, something about the outrage. I think there has been outrage, whether it is translated. There's so many fronts people are fighting on, but there's definitely outrage right now. And, the media is at least asking the questions. But I do think my hope is that there aren't more people who are sent. And so basically, to your point, today an immigration attorney like yourself in Boston received a self-deportation letter. Now, it seems like it was sent to her in error, but what are you hearing in your community about this kind of thing, about going after the very people who are trying to protect asylum seekers, legal immigrants, people who are here, who are trying to quite literally do the things the right way, the way we are told?
Yeah, I mean, well, in terms of the immigration legal community, what I can tell you is that a person goes into immigration law because they are mission oriented. It's not, the most profitable area of the law. So we all are here doing the work that we do because we care deeply about the clients, and we're willing to stand up and fight. And so most of the immigration lawyers I know, even though, there's an executive order out against us, and that attorney in Boston is receiving that letter, and then the guy, U.S. citizen, gets detained at the airport. Like, there are stories that they're coming after the immigration law bar. And by and large, I can tell you that the bar as a whole is banding together and figuring out how to represent their clients better and fight back and disseminate more know your rights information and stand up. But that doesn't also mean that it's super duper creepy, and that, we're watching very closely about what they're doing. And, the attack on the judiciary as a whole has been pretty shocking to see what the big law firms are doing, which ones are capitulating, which ones are fighting back, how all of that is happening. And I mean, I just people keep saying, I want to live in precedented times. It's like, this is.
We meant like the late 60s, dog. Like I want to have lived in those times. But I want to bring in, I want to show this footage because this happened yesterday, where another Palestinian Columbia student, Columbia University student, and who is a green card holder, who has been here for 10 years, Mohsen Madawi, he was effectively lured to an Immigration and Customs Service meeting where he thought he would be taking his citizenship test. He's been awaiting this test. And instead, he was taken into ICE custody. This was filmed by his friend. He's coming out of the building. This is in Vermont, I believe. And there he is. He sort of gives a peace sign, and he's being led by folks. At least they seem like they're in some kind of uniform, unlike the other instances of this, like the Rumeza Otzerk and whatnot. So here they are. I mean, this shit is wild. This shit is wild. So yeah, his friend is filming him. He doesn't say anything, and they take Mohsen Madawi, who, by the way, was fairly public. I mean, he was interviewed, I believe, by 60 Minutes about being a student protester. He was interviewed about standing up to actual anti-Semitism, where someone said death to Jews, and they were all surrounding them and like, get out of here. That's not what our protest is about. Like, sort of, he put himself out there, and here he is. He's being told that there's going to be some sort of, immigration hearing. And I don't know, Kate. Like, I want to say I wish he would have known to stay away, but they are literally using and relying on the tracking they're already doing of green card holders or people who registered through CBP1 or anything else, DACA recipients, to track them down, quite directly the opposite of, say, a hardened criminal who's avoiding any kind of, oversight by immigration services. Maybe just give me your reaction to this kind of entrapment.
Yeah, I mean, I think they had a mini success in the case of Mahmoud Khalil because they were charging him as deportable in his immigration proceeding under this old law. And what it says is that if the Secretary of State has reason to believe that someone's activities could have adverse foreign policy consequences for the U.S., then he can bring a deportability charge against that person. Okay, that's what the charge says. And reason to believe does not mean criminal charges, evidence, probable cause, none of that. And it's real flimsy, and that's why in the case of Khalil, they ended up adding 2 other grounds. They said that they're grounds of inadmissibility, and they said, actually, he also lied on his green card application because he didn't tell us how long he worked with the, UN pro-Palestine agency. But at his court hearing in immigration court, that deportability ground stuck. It survived, scrutiny by the judge. And so that was a small win for them. And they're now going to start applying that to other pro-Palestinian protesters, including people who have no criminal record and who have a green card and are clean enough that they're going in for their citizenship interview. I mean, it's such an obvious attack on free speech. It's like, there's no other way around it. That's exactly what it is.
So the loophole, because yes, the other breaking news is that an immigration court says that Mahmoud Khalil can be deported. And I just want to let's set aside that these are Palestinian men whose homeland is being bombed and terrorized right now by an extremist Israeli government. Like, the idea that you would deport someone to the West Bank, it's so cruel. It's the kinds of jokes we were making before Trump was elected. Like, and he's like, we should send them all back. And it's like, where, dog? To a place that you don't believe that they should even exist, that they're being expelled from systematically by your best friend, Bibi Netanyahu. But anyway, so they were saying that because Khalil didn't divulge or was incorrect about how many months he worked with the UN, that he's deportable.
Yeah, they said that therefore he committed fraud on his green card application because he didn't include that full length of time. And so he shouldn't have been granted his green card in the first place. But as I understand it, I don't represent him, but as I understand it, that it was actually the deportability ground around the foreign policy stuff that got him, not the ground of inadmissibility.
Right.
Which means, oh, okay, it worked for him. Let's start applying that elsewhere, is the way that they're going to start using it. And of course, I think people know by now, coming into the airport is risky business for anyone, especially who's not a U.S. citizen. If you got a visa, temporary status, then you can be denied entry at the border. If you have a green card, you technically can't be denied entry, but you can be detained. And that is occurring. The thing that also takes all of this over the top now is the way they're just plucking people off the streets who have no criminal history, like Khalil and like this man, I don't know his name, who was at a citizenship interview. I mean, Madawi. I don't know him, but but if he's applying for citizenship, in order to apply, you have to have good moral character for the last 5 years, which means no arrest. So that tells me enough to know he doesn't have a criminal history.
Well, and it's funny because, it's not funny, but Columbia University still denied $2 billion in federal funding, despite all of their students now being rounded up. He's called his detention a kind of death sentence. He was friends with Mahmoud Khalil. He was detained, his attorney says, for no other reason than his Palestinian identity. And like I said, he has been outspoken. He's like, again, he's shown his face. He's been on 60 Minutes. He's talked about why they're protesting. He's been very forthright with it, and also law-abiding and here for 10 years. So it is just so brazen and disgusting and so racist. It's so racist. I need everyone to, understand who they're coming after first. There is no mistaking it. I also want to just ask you, Kate, before I let you go, about like, what is, if they did want to just like deport, people who have green cards, is there a more, I know this seems like a little bit crass, but like, is there a humane way to do this rather than just like picking them up without a warning? When you get deportation order, how much advance notice do you then, do you get to say goodbye to people? Like, what could be the right way to do this authoritarianism? And I say right, even though I do not agree with it, but do you know what I'm saying? Like, the way they're going about it is also so cruel.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely for shock value. I mean, they could place people in removal proceedings by issuing them a document. It's a notice to appear in immigration court. And most people, the vast majority who are in immigration proceedings, also have ICE check-ins. There's monitoring that goes on, and ICE meets with them periodically and makes sure that we know their address, et cetera. Some people even get ankle monitors put on them.
Right.
I would argue that those are overutilized, but like, let's say someone could potentially be a flight risk. Well, they could have an ankle monitor, for example. But no, these people are in very loud and splashy ways being detained. And I would venture to guess that ICE likes it when people video and these things go viral. In fact, there was an executive order telling ICE to wear their clear gear for video opportunities in one of the presidential memos that went out. And then they go into these detention centers that the one stateside are privately run. They have shareholders and people getting rich off this stuff. And then there's the Venezuelans who are going to El Salvador. And that is another pocket of racism that has kind of surprised me. It's all been surprising to me, but like the Palestine stuff, I can sort of make sense of why a racist person would do that, right? Mm-hmm. With the Venezuelan targeting in particular, that's one that has perplexed me a little bit. Like, why Venezuelans themselves? Is it probably because there are more of them coming? And it's easy to make it look like there's an invasion of Venezuelans and therefore scare people and therefore get the support of these human rights abuses that the administration is doing. But I haven't really been able to make sense of like why the Venezuelans in particular.
Right. And I also think it is because you've got Marco Rubio, State Department head, who has, long said that Venezuela is a socialist country and screw Nicolas Maduro and everything's terrible there. And, in his family's country, Cuba, the same, kinds of characterizations applied. And, we welcome Cuban immigrants with open arms. And so if you're applying that to another socialist country like Venezuela, wouldn't that follow? And honestly, up until a couple of years ago, it really was this. And I think the other thing to note is there's also a lot of Chinese people living in this country without documentation. And I can only imagine had Trump 2.0 and COVID-19 happened at the same time, we would have been seeing a massive forcible removal, detentions, who knows, of Chinese people living in this country without documents. It's just who's the flavor of racist we want to turn on. And hey, we're only 85 days, 6 days into this. Give them time to turn on the anti-Asian racist or hit that button, because they will. And they'll find some reason to do it. So, maybe it's the like, hey, the Wuhan lab leak thing was real. It was suppressed. And now we're going to go after Chinese people. Like, it is at its core so racist and so messed up. And yes, it is not discriminatory more broadly, because he said on the campaign trail, the enemy within, remember the enemy within, that's us. That's anyone who would defend, speak out for the very people who are being swept up right now. Kate, I thank you so much for your work. And if everyone can give you a follow over on Instagram, what is that handle again?
On Instagram, it's Attorney KLG.
Attorney Kate LG.
Kate LG. Sorry. I have a lot of, if you've searched, my whole name is Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch, just Lincoln like the president, Goldfinch like the bird. And so there are different handles on the different platforms.
Well, I've really been enjoying your content. And also you are urging people to call their congresspeople, even if you are in a red state or a blue state, no matter if you feel like your, electeds are not, are on the, whatever, are not squarely in one camp or another. Demand the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I see that I believe Chris Van Hollen or some senator was thinking of going to El Salvador, which I think would be very momentous and important to do. But public pressure absolutely matters right now. Don't think that it doesn't. So, Kate, thank you so much for being here. Anything else you want to add?
No, just on the point of speaking out, letting your voice be heard. I know sometimes there's a barrier of like, I don't, what if when they pick up the phone, what do I say? I've been using fivecalls.org, and it just, you pick the topic that you care about. They give you the phone number and a script to read. It's 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes to call your congressperson and your 2 senators. And just, if you do nothing else, start there.
Yeah. And notice that you're probably not going to get on the phone with anybody because their inboxes are full, which is good. Their emails are full, which is good. Let's keep filling them. Thank you so much for being on, Kate. Appreciate you and your insight and your work. And thank you all for being here. It's been, it's been a few weeks of talking about immigration right now, but I think it's really, really critical, especially as the atrocities keep on happening. And as it gets more brazen and pretty soon it's going to be a journalist. Like, it's going to be a journalist. I'm sorry. We've heard about the demonization. We wonder who it's going to be. It is going to be beyond, just these buckets of people who've been labeled as undesirable. And we have to have each other's backs at this moment. None of this is all that funny, but that's okay. I was going to say, I did think of an idea for I do think it's okay for rich people to go into space if while they're in space, we get to loot their homes. Like, I'm okay with you going there, but for 10 minutes and 20 seconds, I want to raid Katy Perry's estate. That's all. That's because you come back to Earth and you want to get rid of your earthly possessions. You know what I'm saying? So, let me have your clothes. Thank you. And let me read some comments and get out of here. I really appreciate everybody who is here, who supports the show. We'll do the fart song in a little bit. Daniel Sanchez. Sorry for being annoying. Please look into Matadero de Raus Secot. Maybe you have Google Maps shows blood and or a pool nearby with decaying bioliquid. Dude, I think we need a lot more reporting on Secot, and I will make sure to cover that as much as possible on this show, as much as we can, and do our due diligence. Robert, it's time to perfect your mime skills. I know, dude. I was touch and go there for a while. NWJ going to a Bernie rally today, AOC rally. Alyssa says you were great on MSNBC. Thank you so much. It was fun to be on with Eamon. Snack Panther, thanks for giving out 5 memberships. Everybody, first of all, Snack Panther, your avatar is hilarious. It is Black Panther who likes snacks. You know what I'm saying? I support you. Thank you, Tile Hackner. Thank you for everything you do. Dragonpool says Bill needs to fix his glasses. Love the hair, Fran. Thank you. Oddly Magical Brandy. JD Vance is easily thwarted by placing a donut shop at the entrance of every museum. What are these? Do they always not have holes in the middle? Crazy. Hat Bipto, what do you call 9 people who sit down for dinner with a Nazi? 10 Nazis. Very true. Terrence Trumbo, there's a reason Auschwitz wasn't built in Germany. Scary times. Agree. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Vandalizing Teslas is domestic terrorism. Assaulting Capitol cops, patriotism. Indeed. And Oddly Magical Brandy, I'm down to 1 to 2 days of news per week. My seizures got bad from the stress. Take care of yourself. We don't want that. It's a lot to check in on, and you don't have to keep up with it all. But I do think if people can call their congresspeople, that is enough. That is good. Joining, again, meet up with folks who are like-minded. There are more of you than you think you are. Meet new folks, get out of your comfort zone. That is going to be enough and necessary. And also really, you need something that also fills the happiness, It can't just be the sad stuff. Go support stand-up comedy wherever you live. Luck Dragon says, Caroline Leavitt just announced an hour ago that Donald Trump will be opening an office of faith. Oh my God, that's amazing. He'll never step into it though, because we've seen him pray. It's embarrassing. Yes, I love that. I love that they cloak all of this, authoritarianism in their Christianity. Time to stand up against that. When Caroline Leavitt is 38, her husband will be 70. Gross. Look, I mean, everyone's got their own flavor, but I mean, I don't feel like you can work for Donald Trump without having massive daddy issues. Like, that's why people like Trump. You're like, my dad hit me. You know what I mean? Like, he was not there. Like, like being part of MAGA is just like unresolved daddy issues. Go to therapy, please. Middle Earth Marxist people forget the main point of Nazi concentration camps was to work prisoners to death, and prisons are big business worldwide. Someone's gonna have to make up for all that tariff loss. Yeah, I mean, it's very funny. We're sort of coming off the backs of this failed tariff reversal narrative where we're talking about putting people back to work in factories while we're also expanding the private prison industry vis-a-vis deporting or detaining political dissidents and people that we think are undesirable. Those two worlds are absolutely going to collide. I think that your comment is incredibly prescient. And thank you, Derek Graham, for the super sticker. And thank you, Mobius636, for giving out a sub over on Twitch to catch a butterfly. Mobius also giving out. Mobius is just doling out the gifts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 11. I can count. Thank you so much. That is so generous of you. Let's get to it, guys. Fart song, and we'll get out of here. And thank you so much. We're streaming obviously tomorrow as well as Friday. And I will also be streaming today for Zateo's America Unhinged, some of the last episodes of this 100-day show. With your support of Zateo, hopefully we can keep it going. But for right now, this is Lay Fart Song, guys. Cut this part out. Remember, thank you to new patrons at $10 or more. Manuel, E2EN4W. Thank you, Brian Presky. Thank you, Imaginary Dragon. Frank Morningtree, what's up? Good to see you on Patreon. David Petite. Petty. Don't catch me saying petite again. Thank you for upgrading your Patreon. Sean Rowan, 005 Redism, Rob Ryder. That is so nice of you. Really appreciate you guys for supporting me in this. I cannot tell you how destroyed I got by taxes. Just this sound. That was me and my family getting destroyed by taxes this season. Trump taxes, punitive for people in blue states, punitive for people who aren't wealthy. So thank you very much. It goes a long way. It helps me in this sort of awkward time of moving on and doing my own goddamn thing. Thank you to Paige Omek, also to Brent Godin, who is crushing it on YouTube, to Maximilian Inhofe in spirit, to Andy Vasoyan. And we're streaming Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. I will see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. or 4 p.m. Until then, fight the power, fuck the patriarchy, free Palestine, and don't just bitch about it. Be about it. Bye-bye.